Hello, my name is Jomi Adeniran, and to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the greatest animated show of all time, we're going to rank the top 20 episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Full of fantastic storytelling, compelling character arcs, and breathtaking visuals, interwoven into a world filled with serious themes, yet somehow at the same time brimming with wonder and amazement where the possibilities are endless. It is the pinnacle of animation achievement of our time. Oh, you disagree? You know how good you had to be to dethrone prime SpongeBob? SpongeBob in his absolute height of popularity? Exactly. As we always do on the Ringerverse, we put our best and brightest on this, but it was so hard to narrow it down to just 20 episodes. So in typical Ringer fashion, there's a couple smuggles here and there. And you can be mad all you like, but you know how Netflix got a couple episodes put together and they didn't come out like that. You know, it's all made up. It's all fake anyway. So we're just gonna do what we like. Okay, if that upsets you, if you're mad, please feel free to comment down below. Or if you feel like you need to get to me directly, please hit me on Twitter at my personal account. Just at me at Van Lathan. That's where you can find me. Just send all your anger that way. Okay? You hanging on tight? Yep. Starting off with number 20, Sokka's Master. Y'all didn't think I was gonna start this off without no love for Sokka, did you? Sokka's growth over the course of the show is one of the highlights, and few episodes show this more than Sokka's Master. He's the only non-bender of the team, and even though he's the brains of the operation, he still often feels left out. So what does he do? He attempts to learn the art of the sword from peeing down, and we find out that Sokka is dutiful, patient, and eager to learn. If you compare the Sokka we first met in the South Pole to the Sokka from this episode, you'd find that they're two completely different people. This episode showcases a specialty of the show, which is the extensive character growth that these characters go through, and that's why this episode sneaks in at number 20. Number 19, Southern Air Temple. When we first meet Aang, he's really just happy-go-lucky, doesn't really want to do all this Avatar stuff, and really just wants to go penguin sledding with Katara. But all of that is thrown right out the window when we get to the Southern Air Temple. We find out that the Airbenders had all been killed by the Fire Nation, and Aang reasonably crashes all the way out. But he gets out of it with the help of his friends Katara and Sokka. We get that moment of them kind of becoming a real family, and that means something. Southern Air Temple is a great foundation of the emotional weight that Avatar: The Last Airbender holds, and just lets you know right off the bat that this will not be your run-of-the-mill animated TV show. Number 18, Winter Solstice Part 1 and 2. This series of episodes does three important things that I think make it one of the best in the series. One, it introduces us to the spirit world, where a whole bunch of things go down. You know, I know you know. Number two, we get our first look at Avatar Roku, the man, the guy. Come on, it's tough. And three, and most importantly, it lets us know the reason why we're all here, and that is Aang has to defeat the Fire Lord before Sozin's Comet arrives, or it's toast. The magnitude in which these episodes shake up the entire series is really only saved for season finales. And the fact that this was episodes 7 and 8 in the series, just something nuts to behold. Number 17, The Blind Bandit. Everyone's heard the phrase jumping the shark, which is the moment you can pinpoint a show losing its way. But not everybody knows the reverse phrase, growing the beard, which is when a show finds its form. The Blind Bandit is the growing the beard moment for Avatar: The Last Airbender. Let me be very clear, the show is pretty darn good, but the addition of Toph takes it to all new heights. Her introduction is so raucous and fun, and her being the GOAT Earthbender at 12? Come on! Toph joining the team changed the fundamental fabric of the show forever. Plus, you know, it gave us one of the best Avatar memes of all time.
I got my eye on you.
Water Tribe. Number 16, The Chase. Remember how I said just like 2 seconds ago how adding Toph to the show made the show 1,000 times better? You could say the same for Azula. After being introduced at the end of season 1, Azula makes an instant impact. She first faces the gang and returns to Omashu, but really starts showing her stuff in The Chase. The way she survives the 6v1 at the end? Come on, that's tight! A triumph of the show was how the motion informs the emotion. The chase has action-filled set piece after action-filled set piece that shows off the abilities of new characters while also serving as a backdrop to Toph and Iroh's heartfelt conversation, Team Avatar working through their initial personality differences, and Zuko's reaction to his uncle's injury after ditching him a couple episodes earlier, all wrapped up in a cool little Western motif. This intersection of climactic battles and affecting moments are what make this episode and this series so special. Number 15, The Library. What starts off as a fun episode of the gang taking mini vacations quickly turns into one of the most consequential episodes of Avatar of all time. You got Wang Shi-tong, the team finds out about the eclipse, and they got Toph outside trying to save Appa from the Sandbenders. Episodes like this remind us that it's not always sweet for our heroes. Even though they've got way bigger stuff going on, the here and now, being stuck in the desert with no Appa, yikes. It's a remarkable piece of storytelling, and that's why this episode deserves to make the list. Number 14, The Southern Raiders. In part 3 of the life-changing Triple Zuko tour, Katara is determined to find out what happened to her mother, and she puts up Wilt Chamberlain numbers. I mean, come on. Are you guys not seeing this? Are you not seeing one of the best to ever do it? The way she stopped the rain on a dime? Come on! That's so tight, bro. That's not the GOAT. That's not the best we've ever seen. Come on. The real genius of the episode, I mean, aside from Katara being cold-blooded as hell, is how her story mirrors Aang's story and how he's got to figure out what he's going to do at the end of this season. Remember, Katara and Zuko's initial plan is to murk old dude in the middle of the street, but when push comes to shove, Katara couldn't make it happen. Does that sound familiar? The show's layering of its themes through multiple characters in order to get its lessons across is why, to this day, this show is still an absolute hit. Number 13, The Blue Spirit. Can I just say how much I love this show? Because I really, really love this show. Aang gets captured by the Fire Nation and our guy is cooked. I mean, in the oven, 350 degrees with a side of potatoes and veggies, right? But he gets saved by a dude with broadswords and a blue mask. And we're like, who is this hero? Who is this guy who has come to save our Aang? Lo and behold, the mask comes off and it's Zuko. What? After finally getting away from the Fire Nation, Aang and Zuko are alone under cover of tree. And Aang wonders aloud if maybe in another world they could have been friends. And that moment is so important because it sets up one of the greatest arcs in storytelling history. Trust me, we will talk about it. But that moment, that just little moment, this little sentence, and how much weight it carries in the overall series, I mean, it's just incredible. That's why this episode had to make this list. By the way, if Admiral Zhao has no haters, I am dead. However, I will give him some credit. The way he got that promotion, he was like, hey, I need these archers. And he was like, actually, you don't gotta div them out. And he was like, actually, I'm the Admiral now. These are my archers. Let's slide. And I gotta give it to him. That was tough. It was cool, but I still my op. Number 12, The Secret of the Fire Nation, The Serpent's Pass, and The Drill. The secret sauce of the show, the thing that elevates it higher than any show in its orbit, is that it packages serious themes like war, imperialism, struggle, and self-sacrifice in such a fun and entertaining world that sometimes you forget that these kids are actively fighting in a war, and Secret of the Fire Nation reminds you of that, and then some. The Serpent's Pass is a powerful allegory that shows us just how the war affects the larger world around it, with refugees doing anything and everything to find a safe haven in Ba Sing Se, including risking their lives in order to provide their future with hope. The Drill returns us to the front lines of the war, reminding our viewers that there's an ever-present threat and that our heroes are outgunned, outmatched, and outmanned. And even if they were to get some semblance of victory against the Fire Nation, it'll take everything they have and then some. Man, that last one was a bummer. Hopefully the next one's a little bit more fun. Number 11, The Puppet Master. I guess not. The Puppet Master is such a fantastic episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender because it asks a very important question that's rarely asked in the show. What if the Fire Nation aren't the bad guys this time? In by far the creepiest episode of the series, the gang has to defeat Hama, a southern water tribe waterbender that uses blood bending to put Fire Nation folks into caves. But what she didn't count on was Katara having that dog in her, and they put her away for good. The Last Airbender doesn't do much of switching up the genre too much, but when it does, it's great, and this episode is no exception. Number 10, The Boiling Rock, Part 1 and 2. Because I'm a people person, I love Zuko more than I fear you. That's rough, buddy. Listen! That's cold bars, man! You know nothing about that! On every level, The Boiling Rock delivers. The prison setting provides a rich canvas to explore new and exciting character dynamics. The fight scenes are sick, the emotional stakes are heavy, and we just begin to see the cracks form in the foundations of characters we've thought to be immutable. It's a fantastic pair of episodes that still have us to gas 20 years later, and that's why Boiling Rock has to be in the top 10 of this list. Number 9, The Beach. You know, it could have been easy for Avatar to just give us a crazy one-note evil villain, and I was like, kind of is that? But the way it handles the rest of its Fire Nation citizens is something of note. Think about it. While Zuko, Azula, Mai, and Ty Lee are having this wonderful heart-to-heart, Team Avatar is having their first confrontation with Combustion Man. The juxtaposition of the two groups of teens, one fighting with their emotions and the other fighting for their lives, but both still battling unseen enemies, is a defining characteristic of this episode, and it's so deftly handled, it would almost make you forget that the kids at the beach are on the wrong side of the war. Sure, we all haven't had to fight a firebender with a third eye, but we've all been looked over, burdened by expectations, or wondered if the choice we're making right now is still the right one. It's moments like these that reflect real life in our face, and we don't even notice the mirror. It's a shame about Chan's dad's house, but things happen. Number 8, The Firebending Masters. This episode is spectacular, but I want to talk about the big moment in particular. Zuko is the least talented firebender in his family by far, and without his anger, he doesn't have the juice to adequately firebend. Aang, on the other hand, refuses to firebend after hurting Katara all the way back in The Deserter. They are the two most important characters in the series, and if they're going to defeat the Fire Lord, they have to put everything on the table in order to get it done. Get rid of the fear, get rid of the egos, get rid of the past. It's time to lock in. To have them standing there together after everything they've been through and watching their eyes truly open as the last remaining dragons dance and bestow the meaning of firebending to them is one of the seminal moments of the history of the show. It's breathtaking, it's imaginative, it's a moment every fan can close their eyes and picture in their head because it's just that phenomenal. Number 7, Siege of the North, Part 1 and 2. Okay, I had a whole thing written down on my script here, like I was gonna go into depth about, Zhao and Yue, who I love, but in the whole thing, but I don't really have to do all that when you got this moment right here. Come on! That's what it's all about! Seeing Aang lock in with the ocean spirit, getting the lick back for the moon spirit. Zuko was talking to Katara crazy. You rise with the moon, I rise with the sun. Aang going to the spirit world and meeting Cory for the first time. Princess Yue's sacrifice. Yo, Uncle Iroh, what you do to that fish, I'll do to you guys tenfold. This episode has it all. And we're not even talking about the Admiral Zhao pack. This is awesome. It's wild to think that only 4 spots on this list are occupied by episodes that came out in season 1. But that just speaks to the quality of the show and how it got better season after season. You watch TV now, that doesn't really happen. Let's respect the legend. Number 6, The Avatar and the Fire Lord. Who among us isn't a sucker for a good parallel? Who among us? Watching Aang and Zuko uncover the history of the 100-Year War and finding out that Fire Lord Sozin and Avatar Roku used to be best friends who became enemies, and then knowing what we know about Zuko and Aang and how they were enemies that are going to become best friends, it just stirs something in your spirit. You know what I mean? Because their destinies as Avatar and the Fire Lord were always intertwined, right? We saw it in the past, we're seeing it now. They just didn't know it yet. And watching them uncover that in real time is one of the specialties of the show. The threading of the show's past into its current narrative in order to show the Avatar's future is a masterstroke of storytelling, and that's why this episode is so high up on the list. Number 5, Day of Black Sun.
We used to make real TV, man.
If you were outside back in the year of our Lord 2007, there was few things more hyped than the Day of Black Sun on Nickelodeon, man. We were locked in. We could not wait to see what happened in this episode, and boy, did it deliver. The storming of the beach, Hakoda, Sokka, and Katara taking those battlements, and the swap benders holding the line, gas. The magic of this episode, though, are the emotional bits that we did not see coming. Specifically, Zuko telling his dad to kick rocks. Zuko realizing that his true destiny isn't to capture the Avatar, but that it's to defeat the Fire Lord is such an enormous moment in this show, and it's handled with care, complexity, and compassion. Add that with everything else the episode does, including Aang and Katara's little kiss on the boat, Azula pulling up with the Dai Li, Suki's whereabouts, and Team Avatar being left to fend for themselves again at the end, and you have an unforgettable episode of television. Plus, this episode has my favorite line reading of the entire series, so.
Oh, it sounds like the firebending's back on.
Number 4, Tales of Ba Sing Se. If I were to tell you that an episode made out of 6 vignettes would be one of the best episodes in the series of television, you wouldn't believe me. But that's where we are with the Tales of Ba Sing Se. Sokka getting deep in his poetry bag, Katara and Toph having a girls' day, and Zuko going on a first date are the highlights, but we all know why we're here. Watching Iroh light those candles and pay tribute to his late son as he sings Leaves from the Vine with tears in his eyes, and the show stops to pay tribute to Iroh's original voice actor Mako, who passed away 2 months before, evoked emotions in me I didn't even know I had. And 18 years after that episode originally aired, can still bring a mist to my eye to this day. Just speaks to how incredible and impactful this episode is. My good friend and New York Times bestselling author Joanna Robinson once said, TV episodes that establish character dynamics are not filler episodes. And she's right on the money. This 5-minute segment informs so much about Iroh, who he is as a human being, and why, despite Zuko's numerous issues and outbursts, he treats him with empathy and compassion. Not like a nephew, but like a son. Hey, speaking of Zuko, number 3, Zuko alone. When we're first introduced to Zuko, it's very clear he's impulsive, he's stubborn, he's annoying, he overall sucks. He's the worst we've ever seen. In Zuko alone, however, we found out he's much, much more nuanced than that. In the only episode of the series that doesn't feature Aang, Katara, or Sokka, Zuko was pushed to the forefront, and it makes for one of the most compelling and thought-provoking episodes of the entire series. The flashbacks and present-day storylines weave a tale that showcase just how much Zuko's life has changed and how much more growing he needs to do before he can rewrite his story. We know that he eventually gets to that point, but it's a long, arduous journey. And Zuko alone is the first moment the thought first came to our heads and we were like, what if Zuko's not really all that bad of a guy? Zuko is one of, if not the most complex, well-written, and enthralling characters in the history of fiction. And this episode is a big piece of that puzzle into why I feel that way. And that's why it's so high on the list. Number 2, the Guru and the Crossroads of Destiny. I know it's extremely cliche to say that this is the Empire Strikes Back of this, like that little idiom, but we gotta be honest. The season 2 finale is the Empire Strikes Back of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. It's where we see the good guy so thoroughly defeated and beaten, but that's where we're left with Team Avatar at the end of season 2. Let's just count the losses, shall we? The Earth King got deposed. Ba Sing Se now belongs to the Fire Nation. I mean, Aang freaking died. That's not nuts. What? That doesn't happen anywhere else. So much happens here in the way of advancing the characters and storylines. Combine that with the incredible voice acting, stellar fight scenes, and thrilling visuals, and you're left with an episode that genuinely leaves you asking, how can our heroes come back from this? It's special, true cinema, and that's why it's made our top 2. By the way, while I have you, you know that scene? You know the scene I'm talking about. The one with Katara and Zuko in the cave together? Yeah, you let that scene trick you into thinking that they should be together, And that's just simply not the case. Look, I love enemies to lovers just as much as the next guy. Shout out Cachadora, shout out Lumity. And yeah, Zuko and Katara work in theory, but in practice, it doesn't really add up. Forget Aang's eyes lighting up after seeing Katara fish with the iceberg at the start of the series. The entire fortune teller episode and the Cave of Two Lovers, just forget all that. Just dump that out of your mind. You don't want to listen to me? That's great. But listen to the series creators who wrote, and I quote, "Sorry to disappoint the Zutara fans out there, but we never intended for Zuko and Katara to get together. Maybe we're just sentimental, but we've always had soft spots in our hearts for Katang." So look, what are we doing? The creators themselves said they never intended for Zuko and Katara to get together. Y'all keep letting this scene trick you, and I'm here to set the record straight. They weren't supposed to be together. Y'all keep letting that trick you. This ship doesn't mean anything. This scene doesn't mean anything in terms of them getting together. And the creator said the same thing. So guess what? You can put that in your dragon pipe and smoke it. Where were we? Oh, we're ranking the top 20 Avatar episodes. We should get back to that. I don't know what just happened right there. We should probably continue. Number 1, Sozin's Comet. Yeah. There's no debate. This was obviously going to be in the number 1 spot. This is the pinnacle of American animation storytelling, as far as I'm concerned. Zuko reuniting with Uncle Iroh, Kyoshi telling Aang he needs to stop playing, Sokka telling Toph Boomerang's not coming back, and we haven't even talked about Aang turning into prime LeBron James against the Fire Lord, and the absolute cinematic artistry that is the Agni Kai fight between Zuko and Azula. I could literally be here for the next 90 minutes describing what it was like to watch that episode for the first time, or the sincere emotion that came over me watching Aang and Katara kiss and the end come on our screens. Oh, I mean, I'm not gonna cry. I said I wasn't gonna cry, but I can't even say it meant a lot to me, man, because it meant everything. It meant everything. It's a coordination of everything the show's worked up to, and it puts a beautiful cherry on the storyline, world, and characters Sunday that we've fallen in love with. It's a perfect ending to a perfect series, and that's what makes it the best episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Hey, we did it! We ranked the top 20 episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and guess what? We didn't lose any cabbages. Are you happy? Are you upset? Did we leave off one of your favorite episodes and you feel like you really got to get that takeoff? Feel free to leave a comment below. And again, if you want to reach me personally, hit me on Twitter @VanLathan. Make sure to like and subscribe to the Ringiverse, and we'll see you guys next time.